Oh, forgot my. There we go. Yes. Yes. We're back. It's your boy, Eduardo Jackson, CEO, founder, creator of the great Cinema Draft game. Back with where Daily Fantasy Sports meets the movies. And there we go. Get my rundown up. I'd like to welcome a very special guest, a first timer. He's kind of fam of the pod, new to the Cinema Draft podcast, and hopefully we'll rope him into the Cinema Draft game. It's retired yet side hustling, Sandy Ward.
Hello, all. How are you doing? I
Yeah.
prefer connoisseur of leisure.
Oh, okay. Oh, I like that. I'm gonna use that. Connoisseur of leisure, Sandy Ward. All right. So now tell the people how we know each other.
Well, I am the father of the not official therapist of the pod, Nicole Ward.
TM, yes, our unofficial therapist of the pod, part of the fan pod. She was on just last week with Momo, Nick and Momo. The drinking game tonight will be the word tense because our main topic this week will be covering war movies, and those movies always get a brother tense. Get up my nerves with these movies. So every time you hear the word tense, have a drink, whatever you're drinking. What are you drinking tonight, Sandy? Some cognac, some of the French Connection, or just straight up water?
Water.
Yeah, we're boring, aren't we? All right, so to one of my favorite segments, what I'm watching, and of course, this might just be a weekly thing. Game of Thrones. I don't know what to say. Do you watch Game of Thrones, Sandy?
Yes, I watch it, but I have problems keeping up with who's who because I don't get that deep into it. So,
oh, you should. I highly advise getting deep.
Read more to understand the dynamics between the different kingdoms and rulers.
So, did you read the books? Because I didn't read the books. Okay, so there's a podcast called Binge Mode, which is really, really good. I'm not sure if you're up on podcasts, but if you actually want to get into all like the backstory and the Seven Kingdoms and all sort of stuff, Binge Mode is really good because what they do is that they rewatched all 60 episodes from the previous 6 seasons and then are dropping like a new episode with each episode that comes out on Sunday. On Wednesdays, and they dive deep. They bring in stuff from the books. They tell you how everything relates. It's really good if you want to deep dive on Game of Thrones.
Yeah, one of the interesting things I found is my favorite character is Grey Worm.
Okay, good. He's still alive. All right, good.
Right, he's still alive, but also because he has no fear.
But we did discover on Sunday he has a weakness, though.
Yeah.
The Sunday, my weakness. That was a great episode.
Yeah. Great. And I found it particularly interesting to learn that he's a singer, producer, and songwriter.
Oh, the actor Jacob Anderson?
Yeah. So he has some stuff on YouTube. He does sort of an alternative R&B, sort of like the internet.
Oh, okay. Well, it's not like he's got like a ton of lines. He seems like he's on every other episode. He's got time on his hands, basically. So the only thing they do 7 episodes.
I'd like to see him fight more. Maybe spear a couple more people.
I think that's coming up next week, Sandy. Straight up. They're going to Castle Rock, and it was just an excellent episode. That whole moment, of course, the one that the internet is talking about, Theon/Reek, or Theon devolving back into Reek. He's out there, he's fighting, he's battling, and then all it takes is his crazy murderous uncle having his sister about to behead her or something, and he's like, "Come on, come fight me!" and he just jumps off the ship. How do you feel when you saw that, Sandy? How do you feel about
that? I was hoping that one of those flaming catapult balls would land on him.
He's sure deserved it though. I mean, it was. So, are you in the camp that's like, well, he's suffering? Well, as your daughter might say, he's suffering from PTSD. There's no way. And by the way, I haven't talked to her about that episode, but I'm sure she might say something along the lines of, "Oh, he's still suffering from PTSD. You know, we have to be nice to him and everything." Whereas, me, I'm like, he's turned straight bitch made, jumped off the ship, left his sister to die. Who does that? Who
Yeah.
does that?
Well, plus he was all in up until that point,
Mm-hmm.
and then he just punked out. So
Yeah, straight up. And the Sand Snakes out. I mean, I was reading every time there's an episode, I'll watch it and tweet along with it. And then later on that night, I'll rewatch it. And then I'll like just start doing some internet deep dives, just, reading like recaps and stuff that, connects all the, the threads in an episode. And I guess, I mean, they didn't really bother me, but I guess people were excited to see 2 of the 3 Sand Snakes die. I mean, I guess they were kind of annoying, but it didn't really bother me that much. But they were talking about them like like that couple on the 2nd season of Lost that they just kind of dropped in that no one liked. I mean, people were happy that the Sand Snakes got, and I was like, it didn't really bother me that much. I thought they had a cute little scene with the whole mama thing, below decks before, but now that they're gone, it seems like the internet's happy. Did you have an opinion either way on the Sand Snakes?
no, I didn't really have an opinion. I was still trying to figure out
Who was who?
who and what were they? Were they supposed to be Arab or Moors or?
Oh. No, they're Dornish. They're Westerosi. How about that?
Right, because they're definitely different. I think the mother also was on that show with Idris Elba, where he was a detective in London.
Yeah, what? Oh my goodness, she
She
was
was his
on.
wife.
Because now actress's name is Indira Varma, and I first was
Yeah.
exposed to her when actually let me see, let me bring this up on the share screen. Indira Varma, I first got wind of her when with this movie, not this movie, this HBO show called Rome, which was lit. I mean, it was lit AF. It was a really good show. It only lasted a couple seasons or something, but no, Indira Varma. Let's get Varma. And basically, there we go. Yeah, and I remember her from Rome, and she's done a bunch of stuff. Like she's, and she did that Kama Sutra movie that Mira Nair directed. So she's been in a lot of stuff. So I
Luther.
totally forgot that she was in Luther. That's right.
She was in Luther.
First season. Oh, that's interesting.
She was also, I think, on this TV show where she was a billionaire or something, and she hired this guy to be like he was like ex special forces, and he would go out and beat up the bad guys or something.
Oh,
benefactor.
Yeah, I think I saw like 1 or 2 episodes that night. It's kind of tapped out, but yeah, I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah, she's got like a recognizable face, and she's gorgeous and everything. So yeah, so I'm glad she's still alive, but I'm pretty sure Cersei is just got. I mean, because she is the woman that killed her daughter, so I'm sure Cersei's got plans for her next week. Cersei's really got plans for her. Oh yes, great episode. I love it. Can't wait for next week. Can't wait for Danny to meet John. Game of Thrones. We could probably derail the entire podcast on this, so I will keep moving. Something else I'm watching is a show called Ozark on Netflix. Are you familiar, Sandy?
I just added it to my watch list.
There you go.
I haven't started yet.
All right, so when you get a chance, the trailer's not bad. The trailer actually kind of understates just how tense, glug glug, that series is, because it's and one review I saw painted it pretty accurately. It's as if they dropped you in after season 3 of Breaking Bad. So now you're at the part where he's making money, and everything's like super paranoid and tense. And that's basically what Ozark is: money laundering family, or this money launderer, moves his family from Chicago to the Ozarks, to the Lake of the Ozarks, to launder $8 million in cash in like, was it like 90 days or something, for the second largest Mexican drug cartel. And if he doesn't, then they will kill his family. And it is, the stakes are super high. And then, and it's just the way, I mean, in the art of money laundering, I mean, you have to find all these like legitimate businesses to, pass your cash through. And it's just really interesting watching. And it's directed, executive produced, and stars Jason Bateman, from that kid from Family Ties, all grown up now, and he is just excellent. It is so good. It was so good. I had to call Momo up on Sunday, like, have you watched it all? Have you seen it? And that last episode 10, that finale. I mean, it raised my blood pressure, Sandy. It is really
okay.
good.
Well, I'll start watching it.
Did you watch Breaking Bad? Or are you a fan of shows like that?
Yeah, I watched Breaking Bad.
Yeah, if you like Breaking Bad, you will love Ozark. It is incredible. It really does leave a huge mess at the end of season 1, so it's set up nicely for season 2. They haven't officially renewed it yet, but I'm sure they will. Very excited about that. And the third one I was going to talk about was Insecure, but I mean, everyone knows about Insecure and Lisa Ray. It's getting a lot of press, and deservedly so. Lawrence Hive is in the house, but I just came back from seeing a preview for Atomic Blonde. And actually, I'm talking a little Atomic Blonde real quick. Now that's the one with Charlize Theron as like, they're calling her like a female James Bond type. Are you familiar?
I heard about it, but I'm not I'm not really familiar with it. I found it interesting though that it's this coming out, and then Taraji has this movie coming out where she's
Proud Mary,
hitman. So
yeah, I saw that trailer for Proud Mary last week, and that was lit. And it's coming out in January, which is bizarre because that's when you dump movies to die. But that's going to be great. January is going to be awesome because and someone put in perspective, it's like January you get Proud Mary, and then February we get Black Panther, and I know Black Panther is going to set it off. Everyone's excited for that.
Yeah, I saw the trailer that was on. I think it was on Facebook, and I'm anxiously awaiting that one.
Yeah, no, that's it. Black Panther, and I guess they had some footage from Comic-Con this past weekend, which was so. I mean, and they're like, we're not putting on the internet. Y'all who weren't at Comic-Con just have to suffer. But I guess the footage was so good, the entire cast was there, just like exploded, got up, hugged each other, dapped each other. He's like had like a real big celebration with how good some of the footage looked. I mean, man, I can't wait. I honestly can't wait for Black Panther. That is very exciting myself. But yes. But yes, Atomic Blonde. It was solid. It was. It's an interesting movie. There's a framing device with this whole interview thing where she's in an interview, kind of recalling like her last 10 days. This is like John Goodman from The Interview Room or whatever, and it's cool. But I will say this though: the fight scenes are outstanding. These fight scenes are so like visceral and clumsy and crazy, and there's a lot of like handheld camera work and stuff that it kind of puts Jason Bourne to shame, like straight up. Like you really feel like, you're like when she kicks the guy down the stairs, like you hear every stair hit that dude. So the action scenes are excellent, some of the best I've ever seen. But the movie overall is just okay. It's pretty good. It's 3 reels. I mean, it has more plot than I thought it would. And I mean, I probably could have done with maybe 1 or 2 more fights with her doing hand-to-hand combat because she's so good at it. But yeah, I think it's 3 out of 4 reels. I liked it. Are you looking forward to seeing it at all? Are you an action movie guy, Sandy?
I'm an action junkie because that's a good release for me. After having worked in financial services regulated as a regulator, I like to go to movies where I don't have to think much. When someone gets punched in the face, you say, oh, they got punched in the face. I don't need to know what it meant.
There you go. Yeah, there's a lot of that in this film. It's a little girl on girl for the Sapphic fans out there. And yeah, so it's a fun movie. Definitely worth seeing. 3 out of 4, and those fight scenes are crazy. just absolutely crazy. I really enjoyed the fun. Look at it. Look how mean she looks. She's really just in.
Yeah.
Charlize. I mean, if there is gonna be like a new James Bond or whatever, make her a Jane Bond. I don't care. She's awesome. She's really good in that role. She's very very good in from a physical standpoint. And as a former theater kid, went to acting school, whatever, I can really appreciate some good stage combat. We took a class stage combat. We did the whole was it rapier or daggers and rapiers or whatever, the sword play and everything. We taught how to do stage combat. My final, I think, was that scene on Face Off at the end on the beach where they're like beating each other down. Like I had to do that with like my scene partner. So I'm really into good stage combat, and this has some of the best in the business. Highly recommend it. Okay, so yeah. So what are you watching, Sandy? What Mr. Connoisseur of Leisure? What are you watching these days? What are you seeing at the theater or at home?
I actually, and probably this is about my third time watching it, because this is one movie I do try to get behind the action, is 13 Hours. Have you seen that?
Oh yeah, the movie set in was it Iraq or Libya? The Libya.
It was in yeah.
Yeah, Libya, the Michael Bay movie that nobody saw, but I did. I saw it in the theater, and I liked it. I thought it was totally underrated.
Yeah. I was looking at it from this. This is one movie I do think about, and so I was looking at the heroics, but I was also looking at sort of that whole idea of manifest destiny that that we have.
Oh yeah, how so? How'd that relate? Because that was like about the fall, like the Libyan, the Libyan embassy, right? So yeah. So to explain to us how that ties into manifest destiny.
Okay, well, manifest destiny, was back when the United States felt that we had the right to go into other countries and impose our form of government or our culture, because they felt that our culture, or let us say the American culture, was superior to any other culture in the world. And so it was destined for us to convert people over to our way of living, and if they could be converted. But in a sense, it's an attitude of superiority. And when you actually look at this movie and the attitudes that the people, especially the special operators, express toward the people that actually live in the country that they're in, you can see it's condescending.
Right.
The snide remarks and all. And the bottom line is you are over there because basically you couldn't fit back into society because war has become part of your DNA.
Yeah, no, and yeah, and that's that as partially also why people prefer the U.S. to stay out of foreign entanglements or engagements, and because it's always hard like dealing with native culture when you're essentially a guest or a visitor, and it's one thing to be a visitor or a guest in someone else's country and then try to impose your values and your way of life. That's so I get what you're saying with that. A quick side note: Pablo Schreiber, the homie. I used to go to school with his sister back in Seattle.
Okay.
Used to drive her to school, and a few times I'd give him a ride. And he was like, I think, 2 or 3 years younger than her, and he was always like, challenging me to play basketball for some reason. It's always kind of funny. I remember going to one of his basketball games, is like out in the sticks, whatever. But I just remember him from Pablo. Little Pablo used to sit in the back seat, drop him off, whatever. And now he's all grown up, making major dollars as a steadily employed Hollywood actor. He's got quite the I was gonna say the rap sheet, but quite the IMDb page. Everything from Weeds, at 13 Hours he was in, as we saw, that ill-conceived remake of Ironside. A lot of stuff. He's been in a lot of good stuff. The Good Wife.
Yeah, he was on a few episodes of Law and Order, um,
That's
uh,
right. This was from like 4.
SVU, and he did such a good job. It's taken a while for me to get that that image out of him, my mind of him as that psychopathic rapist.
Yeah, and then of course the one that will be forever burned on our streaming friends' minds. He is Porn Stash, aka from Orange Is the New Black. Have you seen that show? Have you watched Orange Is the New Black?
I haven't watched one episode of that show.
Oh, it's great. Female prison. It's funny. It's great. If you liked Weeds at all, it's from the creator of Weeds, on which he also starred in like one of the later seasons. It's just a really good show. And he's Porn Stash. He's probably known. He's probably best known these days as Porn Stash. So big ups to Pablo in 13 Hours. Anything else you watching, Sandy?
Um, a bunch of B movies I won't name because I don't want people to
No
laugh.
judgments. No judgments. You're among friends here.
They were really bad. But one thing I've weaned myself off of is Steven Seagal movies.
Oh,
They've gotten so bad that
welcome to the 21st century. I think we gave up on him like 20 years ago.
well, he makes those straight to DVD, or and for some reason or other, Netflix loves him.
Netflix will find those 20,000 or people around the world. They'll if they have 20,000 people, or I don't even know what the number is, but if they have a small but fervent population that watch a certain thing, they will cater something to them. I mean, they have a $6 billion with a B dollar budget a year for creating content, and that's why every week there's some new hotness on Netflix and some new whackness too. I mean, Adam Sandler has made a home on Netflix. For the life of me, I cannot bring myself to watch those terrible movies.
Now, there was a movie on Netflix with Jason Momoa and who's his wife?
Oh yeah, Lisa Bonet. Yeah,
Lisa Bonet, about Native Americans in the Northeast region of the country, and that it was called Red Something, and I enjoyed that. It was I think season one.
I think I know what you're talking about. I watched one season. I think I did watch one season. Yeah, where there's like a murder mystery and everything. They're on a reservation. I think, was that right?
Yeah. And the funny thing is the
Red Road. That's what it is. The Red Road.
The lady that was sort of his stepmother looked black. She was on CSI, one of those CSIs, New York. Tooney, I can't remember her last name.
Oh yeah, Tamara Tooney. Yeah, she's working black actress. More power to her.
But she was supposedly Native American.
Well, I mean, come on now. I mean, black people, we all got some Indian in our family, so.
Yeah, I guess so. But I thought that was pretty good. I've watched The Revenant a couple of times.
Oh, really? I could barely get through once. That is a movie to be endured, not to be enjoyed. Really? Twice?
Yeah.
Him eating that heart, that animal heart? Oh, okay. Yeah, you're stronger man than I am. Man. Okay, well, so let's get to our main topic this week. We are doing top 5 war movies. Y'all know the rules, but for those who are new to the podcast, allow me to explain. You name a movie, you name a war movie. We alternate picks. Once someone picks that war movie, that movie is out of play. And in deference to my guests, and any research you may have done, because I have done next to none. and also the reason why we are doing war movies this week is because Dunkirk was like that. Y'all who watch or listen to the podcast regularly know how I feel about Dunkirk. I am looking forward to seeing it again soon in 70mm. But in honor of Dunkirk, we are doing top 5 war movies. So first off, go ahead, Sandy, tell us as a connoisseur of leisure, what war movies do you like to watch? What's your first war movie you'd like to take off the board?
Apocalypse Now.
There you go. Stay classy. Apocalypse Now, and you know what? I can't remember if I've seen this one, but go ahead. Tell us about Apocalypse Now. Why that's what is number one off the board.
Um, because it dealt with some of the conflicts involved in fighting the war in Vietnam. Uh, and since I'm a veteran of that era, uh, and
Oh, did you serve? Were you in Vietnam?
I wasn't in Vietnam, but I was in the army.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, yeah, glad you made it through.
I was in northern Thailand,
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. Stay out of the action.
but it it really hit home to me when I think one of my favorite scenes was when Martin Sheen goes into the trailer and the general is there and some other people and they're giving him his assignment. And there was this one guy there that was in civilian clothes who was one of those guys that you're wondering who's this guy, and he was the military intelligence officer.
Well,
And
I'll
finally,
freely admit I have. I mean, and this is a
yeah.
hole in my cinematic resume, but I have not seen Apocalypse Now.
Oh, well, you need to see it, but also the extended version. But
Okay.
basically, it was built upon a book called Hearts of Darkness about taking the trip up a river in Africa. And Francis Ford Coppola, he took that and then made it into a war where Martin Sheen is given this assignment to go and assassinate a special forces colonel, Colonel Kurtz, who's
Oh,
played
okay.
by Marlon Brando.
And he's supposed to be like crazy, right, Colonel Kurtz?
Yeah, he's crazy, but the reason why they want to get rid of him, he's also effective because
Okay.
he became
He might
sort
end
of
the war too quickly for them.
well, and he became a demagogue for the Montagnard people. And
Oh.
they worshipped him, and they were brutal, you know, in doing what they did, and he was an embarrassment for the U.S. government, and so they needed to. In fact, this is when the phrase came out. I think it might have been the first time most people had heard it. They told Martin Sheen they wanted him to terminate with extreme prejudice.
Oh. Okay.
And Martin Sheen was a special forces, I think he was a captain who was going crazy at the beginning of the movie because he didn't have an assignment and he was just in this room drinking and there was a fan overhead and I liked the way they superimposed the sound of a helicopter, but it was really a ceiling fan and he's hallucinating.
Yeah, I hear it's one of Francis Ford Coppola's great works, and also, I mean, that's actually I'm gonna add it. I guess I can watch it on Amazon Prime, so that's awesome. I'm gonna
Yeah.
add that to my list. That's what's up. All right,
And that's the
so
movie that introduced Lawrence Fishburne.
oh, that was his first one. Okay,
Yeah.
all right,
Yeah, I
all
think
right.
he
Well,
was like 19 years old. The filming was they had all kind of problems. Martin Sheen had a nervous breakdown during the filming and a heart attack and
oh
almost
man,
died. And they had to hold up filming till he got better.
oh man.
But it's good, and it's one of the few war movies that they had brothers in it that weren't portrayed as being cowardly.
Okay. Well, all right. Well, I'm gonna add that to my list, and I'm gonna jump in here with my first pick. And since
Okay.
I know who I'm dealing with, and it's staying in that same era, I'm going to go with Platoon because I know it's gonna be your next one or on the list. So kicking off the board, can't have Platoon. Platoon obviously is awesome. It's incredible. It's scary, but it's really good. I mean, obviously it came out in '86. I don't think I watched it until I was older, thank God, because it would have scared the hell out of me. I think I was what 9, 10, 11, maybe 11 when it came out. Obviously too young for an R-rated movie, but Platoon is like that. It's crazy. It also is the movie that kind of really put Charlie Sheen on the map a little bit. I mean, it's just, I mean, the moral quandaries, the way they once again the manifest destiny, like Sandy
Mhm.
said, all that stuff is in there. I mean, the loss of innocence, just the ravages of war, burning villages, rape, murder. It's just, I mean, I'm gonna say it's got it all. That's not the right way to say that, but I mean, it really does expose you to the horrors of war, and it's just it's a really good film that I probably won't watch but a handful of times in my life, but it's really good. And you know, and your boy Oliver Stone just wilding out. Do you have any thoughts on Platoon, real quick?
Yeah, it was the second one I was going to bring up, and I agree with everything you said. I know myself and some of the other brothers that were that I know that were in Vietnam and in the service took exception with the portrayal of the brothers in Platoon
Oh.
because it was probably just the opposite.
Okay, fair enough.
And if anybody remembers, one of the main complaints was that the closer you got to the DMZ or where all the action was, they used to say the darker it got.
Oh yeah, they'd all yeah, they put us up in the front lines.
They
Absolutely.
started calling it Soulville,
No, oh no.
and that's portrayed in Apocalypse Now.
Mm. Okay, that's a
Yeah,
crucial detail too
yeah,
of wartime. I mean, obviously, you know, wars are fought a lot differently now, and hopefully that's not like the case. But it seems like what happens now with our wars seems like the less educated and the poor, as well as maybe the minorities, also get kind of pushed to the front lines. But yeah, that's ooh man, that's no good for anybody. But yes,
yeah.
that's my first one off the board. You
Okay.
can't have it. Got to come up with a second one, a new second one.
Oh well, of course, Deer Hunter.
Oh, okay. Yeah, dude, I've never seen that, but I heard it's a classic. I heard also it nearly bankrupted the studio or something. Like, yeah, do tell about Deer Hunter. Give us the lowdown on the Deer Hunter.
The Deer Hunter it's funny. The war scenes are probably a small part of the movie, but the movie is about the war, the Vietnam War, and it's about these. Oh, I guess there's a certain population in Pennsylvania that has that their ancestors came over from Russia.
Mm-hmm.
So Robert De Niro was in it. I see you have it up now. John Savage
Okay.
and
Yep.
Christopher Walken, and
That's hell
they
of a cast.
they all worked in the steel mill, and and they would go up and go hunting and all. Well, they all joined the army together, and they were gung ho about going and fighting. And John Savage was getting married um, before they actually
Meryl
went to
Streep too.
war.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
this thing's stacked.
And the wedding scene in this movie was one of the longest, but one of the best that you'll ever see, because first it showed like their culture, with the dance and the music, and then they were all uh, drinking heavily. It was
And they were reminiscing about going through the war and stuff.
and then the way they made the transition to the war part was, as the wedding's winding down, Robert De Niro goes in the bar and there's a Green Beret sitting at the bar, and he has that, they used to call it the stare. He had that stare, and Robert De Niro would say, well, something like, well, we're going in, and how you see the action. He's trying to strike up a conversation with the guy, and the guy basically doesn't even want to talk to him, and he just words an expletive, and he doesn't understand what it is. So then from that they go hunting, and then the next thing you know, they're in Vietnam.
Oh, okay. So kind of like mixing of the present and the past. That sounds interesting. I might have to check that out. All I remember, or all I've heard mostly about it, is that Michael Cimino guy, like it cost so much money that it damn near bankrupted the studio or whatever, and people are always like, I mean, I guess it won some awards and stuff, like it was really good, but it like the cost of making it back then in 77, 78, it was threatening to bring down the entire studio.
Oh, it was a long movie, and you know, you know, I mean, it had everything, because what happened was his friends wound up becoming POWs.
Oh.
And they were kept in this cage that was partially submerged in this river that had rats in it. So, and they were making them play Russian roulette, and that's another pivotal part of the movie.
Oh goodness,
the Russian roulette.
Man, it sounds like a lot. So all right. So that's a solid second pick.
Yeah.
I am going to take off the board Glory, because it's got my main man Denzel.
Okay.
Denzel is my main man. I mean, for all the obvious reasons. I mean, first of all, it's a great story. Edward Zwick. I mean, he's done some good stuff before, but this might be his best film. I mean, Civil War. I mean, it's. I would say, I hate that word problematic, but it's a problematic time to try to like express well, on camera or in cinema. And this one does it pretty well. I mean, you do get like some of the white officer side and everything, which is fine. But really, the heart and soul of this movie does lie with the enlisted men. The first quote unquote Negro regiment, all Negro regiment out of Massachusetts, the 54th, and it's just so good in that whole. Everyone knows all the scenes. Denzel, the Denzel tier, all that sort of stuff. He plays a surly, former escaped slave named Trip, who is just a bit of a rule breaker. Doesn't believe in like carrying the flag because those aren't his colors. He fights for himself, not for the Union, etc., etc. But it's just really well done. I mean, the camaraderie between the men, and everything, the exposure of the discipline needed in order to survive in war, especially wars back then. It's just a really good film. I enjoy the hell out of it. And Matthew Broderick made a fairly surprising dramatic turn. Back then this is like Ferris Bueller. Like, what? Ferris Bueller is leading the charge? Like, what? But no, he played off fine, because his whole character was like a young, naive, lieutenant or whatever. So yeah, I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed Glory. If you haven't seen it, something's wrong with you. Go see that movie.
Yeah, I saw it, and I enjoyed the scene around the campfire.
Lord. Yeah, man, Fighting 54. So that's my second one. Yeah, that's my second one. So what's your third one?
Okay, I'm gonna come up with one that's gonna surprise you, and you probably never heard of it.
Try me.
Dogs of War.
Dogs of War, huh? I have not. So now we're in 1980. All right, we're making progress. Yeah, Dogs of War. Do tell. You're absolutely right. I am unfamiliar. So school a young brother on Dogs of War.
The movie, the acting was not that good, except for Christopher Walken.
Okay.
But the premise, and you got to remember, this came out in 1980, and what it was about was Christopher Walken was, say, an ex. He was a veteran of the Vietnam War. He was just kind of, bumming around, but he became sort of like a mercenary, and he was sent to this country in Africa to scout it out and all. And if I remember right, it was this oil company that wanted to do a regime change so they could get rights to the oil.
Okay.
And so he led an invasion of the country and unleashed the dogs of war.
Ah.
But he got a conscience, and they had this puppet that they were going to put in as leader of the country. And at the last minute, when he was sitting behind the dethroned president's desk in all his arrogance, Christopher Walken put a bullet in his forehead.
Wait, did you just tell us the entire movie? Am I not going to have to go see the movie? Man, Sandy. Oh, well, thank you for explaining the entire plot of the Dogs of War.
No, there's some more to it that I didn't
I hope so.
There's some more to it that I didn't explain, and it's
okay. Well, good. Well, let's leave some to the imagination then. And it sounds like Christopher Walken was that dude in the late '70s when it comes to war movies. He seems like he was in a lot of that stuff, huh?
Yeah, and it's unusual because I never knew he was a dancer. He was in a lot of Broadway shows.
Huh. Yeah.
So
okay.
He always, and I always thought he was this tough guy.
Okay. Well, so this one, the movie I'm going to do for my third one, it's kind of a war movie, or it actually deals with like some of the details of war, and by that I mean I'm doing God of War. Yeah, there we go. No, yeah, which is it? It's not City of God. God of, isn't it? What is it called? The Lord of War. There we go. Lord of War. That's the one with, yeah, Nicolas Cage.
Nicolas Cage,
so,
based on a true story.
Yes, so slept on. So you've seen it, right? This is a fun. I mean, well, as much as like international arms dealing can be fun, but basically Nicolas Cage is like an international arms dealer. I think he deals with his brother, maybe, I think. And it's been a while since I've seen it, but it was one of my favorite movies of 2005. It is just, and it's Nicolas Cage before he totally sold out and started doing like paycheck movies. I mean, this is still, it wasn't like the biggest movie, but it's a really kind of, I mean, it was like a late August release, if I recall correctly. So it wasn't like the most heralded movie, but it kind of slipped under the radar. It's really a lot of fun. Nicolas Cage is doing Nicolas Cage things. He's he's like an international arms merchant illegally, who kind of like the past film kind of grows a conscience, maybe a little bit when he is when all of these like international arms dealing kind of comes around to bite him back in the ass, and it's just a really interesting movie in as much as that you get a peek into the world of like black market arms deals and the people and the morality or lack thereof they have in order to engage in it. And I thought Nicolas Cage did a really good job. Totally slept on that year, but I really enjoyed it. I do believe it was in my top 10 movies of the year. Really well cast. Look at Eamon Walker. I think he's still on Oz at that time. It just, just put in work. Mm-hmm. So, this is a really solid cast. Jared Leto, Bridget Moynihan, go ahead, get you some. It's good stuff.
Yeah.
And like I said, based on a true story.
Yeah, I liked it, and I thought that this movie that just recently came out, War Dogs.
Yeah, that wasn't as good.
But it was the same thing.
Right. Yeah.
It was based on the same two guys. Or
wait, hold on a second. Are you serious? Were these both about the same guys?
They weren't about the same guys because in the one with Nicolas Cage, mm-hmm. they were brothers.
Right.
And in War Dogs, they
same
were
concept. Friends. Yeah, War Dogs. That was also a true story.
Same. They were arms dealers.
Yeah, similar type of premise. Okay, I was about to say, I'm like, oh wow, how did I miss that detail?
Yeah,
they did the same movie. No, but yeah, similar type of setup, but different, real life stories. I guess there's a lot of real life international arms dealers running around out there.
Yeah.
All right, what's your fourth one, Sandy? What you got?
Zero Dark 30.
Oh, excellent choice. Excellent choice. All right, so yes, go ahead and give us the rundown on that one.
Well, that was about the a CIA analyst
Yeah,
that
buddy.
tracked down bin Laden. And I liked it because it showed a lot of the work that nobody really sees that takes place from an intelligence standpoint.
Fair.
And I guess I'm biased because that's what I did when I was in the military. So
Oh, you're an analyst. I did not know that. Interesting.
no, I was a counterintelligence agent.
Really? Wow, you just got that much more interesting. All right. So you're a connoisseur of leisure and intelligence. All right.
So, but I liked it because there, as opposed to my preference of not having to think, this one made you think,
Mm.
and it showed, you know, just the little detail and work that went into finding him.
Yeah, a lot of smart people doing really smart things, and of course,
Right,
the star Jessica Chastain. She
right,
was the one who just was just after Bin Laden for all those years and different
right.
administrations. Yeah, that's an excellent pick. I have no qualms or quibbles with that one. My fourth pick, I'm going to go with. We're almost kind of running out of room here. There's so many good war movies, and I don't know what that says about our culture, but
Yeah,
but yeah, so I'm gonna do the Hurt Locker. That one, I mean, it won awards and stuff. It won the Academy Award. I think Catherine Bigelow. I think she won for Best Director, first female director to win, which took way too damn long. But yes, it was great. It's a great movie. Great. I mean, great war movie, and it really gets into like psychology, and the psychological ramifications of people who do this type of stuff every day. It's you're dealing with a guy it's a guy who's on like bomb detail. He has to go and defuse bombs or send in advanced little, drones or probes or whatever to defuse bombs and everything. And what happens when you lose, one of the people on your detail and deal with the psychological effects of that. And it's really well done. And then also, and this is actually a good picture back here where it shows him trying to adapt to normal life, but he gets off tour and he just kind of can't. You can't turn it off, right? So it's just, and this is actually a small bit of a period piece back in, recent history back in Iraq and everything. So it's just really interesting seeing, the psychological ramifications of people who do come back from war, who do such stuff that will mess with your mind, like, defusing bombs and what happens when they go wrong. Have you seen The Hurt Locker, Sandy?
yes, I enjoyed it. I liked it. I liked. I think that was a breakout role for Anthony Mackie.
Yeah, good point.
And, you know,
And Renner, Jeremy Renner too. I mean, I'd
right.
heard of him for years, but that one definitely did put him on the low A, high B list map.
Yeah. Yeah, and that was on my list, so now I have to.
Ah, yes. You see how the game is played now, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, can I have a tie?
Uh, I know we're coming down to our last picks.
Right.
Do an honorable mention and then give your official last pick. I'll allow it.
Okay, I'll go with the honorable mention for me would be uh, Hamburger Hill.
Okay. And your official last one, what would that one be?
We Were Soldiers.
Interesting. Okay. Well, once again, circling back to Vietnam, I guess for obvious reasons, you served.
Right.
So,
And
but yes,
Hamburger
tell
Hill
us.
is about Vietnam too.
Right. Yeah. I'm seeing a trend here, Sandy. I'm seeing a theme here with your movies. But yes. All right.
Yes,
So well
obvious.
done. Well done. So yeah. So We Were Soldiers. Go ahead and give us the full lowdown on that. I do remember seeing it. I enjoyed it. But let's hear about it from your perspective. Go ahead.
It's based on a true story. I can't remember the colonel's name, but he essentially developed the air cavalry.
Okay.
The process of going into a battle zone via helicopter
Mm-hmm.
and getting in in this one. I think the thing I liked about the movie was it showed the Vietnamese uh, not as caricatures, not as barbarians, but actually thinking soldiers with strategy.
Right.
And you know, because the movie begins with the French and how they underestimated the Vietnamese, and they got slaughtered.
Right.
And so this colonel, who was also studied the history of war. Uh,
Oh, oh no, we lost Sandy. Come back. Come back. Okay, so I will pick up where he left off. Well, maybe not so much on We Were Soldiers, but I will actually go ahead and talk about. So I actually have an honorable mention, and I mean, God, there are some really good war movies. Since he's not here, he can't stop me. I'm gonna do a couple honorable mentions. I really enjoyed *Inglourious Bastards*. It's a bit of a low key masterpiece. It's your boy Quentin Tarantino, but with his revisionist history of World War II, I can yeah, there you go. It's all misspelled and stuff. I really enjoyed that movie. It's there's a lot there to like. But then Brad Pitt, all that good stuff. But then also, I would say, I mean, this, and also Saving Private Ryan. I mean, it's a bit of a cliche, but that's a really excellent war movie. And of course, those first 40 minutes, which I was warned about. I remember seeing it in the theater. I was scared. I was scared shitless. But I mean, and I kind of watched through, through my fingers that whole opening sequence. But man, if that movie isn't like really good, it's super long. It's looking at 2 hours and 49 minutes, almost 3 hours. But it is actually worth it, and definitely brings you into the fog of war. Actually, I might want to. Now I think I want to watch it again. There he is. He's back.
oh,
Welcome back, Sandy.
I don't know what happened.
That's why I kind of carried on without you. I went and covered two of my honorable mentions. I did *Inglourious Bastards* and then *Saving Private Ryan*. But for my fifth one, actually, actually, I'll hold off on my fifth one. Just go ahead and wrap up real quick. Your *We Were Soldiers*.
Oh well, it was a battle of strategy between the leader of the North Vietnamese soldiers and Mel Gibson.
Sure.
Uh, it
Yeah, I remember
it
that one scene with like the whole sniper setup with the meeting and everything. I remember that was part of that movie, right? There was like a sniper setup and it was like really tense, and some leader was coming in, and then they kind of had to like adjust on the fly. Is that the same movie I'm thinking of?
no.
Okay, my bad.
No, this one was where Mel Gibson, his the guy he played, who's a real guy,
Colonel Halmore.
actually developed that method of carrying soldiers into a battlefield via helicopter.
Oh, okay.
As first the air cavalry, and he also so they practiced, and once they got the assignment, they go, and they wound up being in a battle zone where I think there was a entire North Vietnamese battalion that they had to uh, fight, and it the I think the battle scenes were sort of like Platoon,
Mm-hmm.
uh, really kind of as realistic as you can get in a movie, but it showed the heroism, but also it wasn't like a Audie Murphy, those movies where one guy is going to go and fight 20 and
It
not
felt
give
more
a
realistic,
crap.
is what you're saying. No, that's fair. And
Yeah,
and and piggybacking off of that like realism, I mean, and this I might suffer from recency bias, but I don't even care because the more I think about this movie, the more it grows on me. And I did just see this, but it's Dunkirk. Damn it, Dunkirk is like that. Have you seen Dunkirk?
I haven't seen Dunkirk. I I don't know if I'm going to go see it in the movies. I might wait.
Oh no
You
no no no
can
no 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 no
tell.
No. Stop right there. You need to see this on the biggest screen possible.
Okay.
Preferably, if you can see it in IMAX 70 millimeter, it might change your world, like straight up. Like you need.
Okay.
Yeah, that's my next move. My next move is to see it in 70 millimeter on a super big screen. We don't have IMAX 70 millimeter here in Vegas, but I'm definitely going to see it in 70 millimeter because I hear it's just like super clear and pristine and gorgeous. And it's an amazing movie. I don't know if you've listened to my recent podcast, but I did review it at least once, maybe even twice, about how just impressed I was with it. But Dunkirk basically follows three different men over three different timelines on the same event. It's well lesser known to American audiences was early on in the war before we got involved. 1940, like end of May, early June 1940, 300 or 400,000 British soldiers were stranded on Dunkirk beach in France, and they're trying to get home to across the English Channel. They're cut off. That whole, I'm sure you've seen like one of the trailers or the commercials with the little floating leaflets, and it shows like you are surrounded. Basically saying like the Germans have the British soldiers surrounded on all sides and they're trapped by the sea. And at this point in the war, I mean, they're getting just pummeled. I mean, you've got the Luftwaffe killing them by the air. You've got the U-boats killing them by the sea. I mean, they're just kind of stuck. And so they're trying to get out of France. France about to be occupied by Germany, and they're just kind of stranded on this beach because the U-boats keep sinking all their destroyers and their ships, and so they basically have to mobilize like all these civilian boats, all these civilian, and that's one of the guys right there, the guy on the left. They have to mobilize all these civilian seamen, like pleasure boats and fishing boats, whatever, from the England side to come across the channel, those 26 miles, whatever, to go scoop up all these waiting soldiers because they keep getting their ships, destroyed. And so they follow one guy. They follow a day in the life of an infantryman. Who's just trying to a week in the life of infantrymen, just trying to get home, and every time he seems like he's getting closer to getting on something to take him home, something crazy happens. Then they follow the day in the life of this. So this is the infantryman, like young kid. They spend a week in his life. They spend a day in the life of a day in the life of this guy. He's taking his pleasure boat across the English Channel to go save the men, and then an hour in the life of Tom Hardy's character. He's a Royal Air Force bomber, and it's really compelling. And I swear that movie was so tense. I mean, because not only is it just a setup, but also the way the musical score is done. Hans Zimmer, the GOAT, my man. I want him to do the soundtrack of my life. If I die before him, not likely, but if I die before him, I want Hans Zimmer to play at my funeral. He is so good at this musical score game. It's like an extra character. It's just the tick-tockiness of the whole thing. And I've seen people talk about how it's like so precisely, made like Hitchcock. It's a thriller. It's a little emotional, but you are really there. You're really in there with these lads who are just trying to survive. And so I love this picture right here, with the one with all the little helmets, and they're all looking up because they're about to get bombed on or strafed by the Luftwaffe. And this is how I felt the entire movie, Sandy. I felt like so tense. Like, I don't know where the next calamity is going to come from. I felt like I was one of these huddled masses, stuck on a pier trying to cross the English Channel to get home because the entire movie is so tense. The more I think of this movie, the more I love it. It's my fifth pick, Dunkirk. See, don't wait, Sandy. Don't wait. Okay. You're not allowed to wait. You have to see this movie on the biggest screen possible right now.
I'll go see it.
If you truly are a connoisseur of leisure, well, actually, it's not a very leisurely movie. It'll make you really tense, but it's a really good experience. I highly enjoy it. And if you like war movies, you will love this movie.
Okay, and I think one thing I want to interject, even though we're talking about the 5 best, mm-hmm. I would be remiss if I didn't add in the worst I've seen, okay. Which was John Wayne movie called The Green Berets.
Oh, okay. And 1968, The Green Berets. Do tell.
I saw it when I was overseas in the military. in the theater on base. It wasn't supposed to be a comedy, but all you heard throughout the whole movie was laughter.
All right, y'all. You heard it here first. Avoid the Green Berets at all costs.
It
Don't
was so
do it.
hokey, and you know, I'm watching the movie with guys. Some of them were special forces, and most of them had been in Vietnam.
That's
And
nothing like that. Their experience, huh? Yeah, I don't blame you.
so,
Okay, well,
if you want to
well,
laugh, that's a good movie.
all right, fair enough. Okay, so all right, so what is Cinema Draft? It is the fancy sports version of the movies. Instead of drafting athletes from teams, you're drafting actors from movies, and how their movies perform at the North American box office will earn you points for your call sheet of actors while competing against others for fun and prizes. You draft 10 actors or assign a dollar value salary. You have $100K in budget to try to draft all 10 actors, and it must be 10, no more, no less. There are 3 release types of movies, Sandy. There is wide release, 2,000 screens and up. There's limited release, between 500 and 2,000 screens. And then there is platform release, which is 500 screens and below. And you must have one actor from each of the 3 release types of movies. You have 2 headliners per film. Headliners points are worth 40% more, so try to get them where you can. So for example, if Suicide Squad earns 100 million and you get 1 point per $1 million per actor, Margot Robbie would get 100 points, while Will Smith, as a headliner, would get 140. It is free to play, over $200 in prizes this week, plus a $25 bonus to the highest scoring call sheet. We did have dual winners of the call sheet of the week this past weekend, so they split the $50 prize because it rolled over from the week before when I had the best call sheet. If I have the best call sheet, Sandy, then nobody gets a $25 bonus. It rolls into the next week and the next week and the next week until someone not me wins call sheet of the week. Beta testing's open and live. Go to cinemadraft.co to sign up. And are you ready for the shot list, Sandy? And actually, Sandy, are you going to join our lovely game? Are you going to throw in a call sheet this week? It's free to play.
I'll try.
The right answer is yes. Wrong answer, yes. That is the right answer, the only answer. And we're going to go over to the shot list. We're going to get you hip to some game, how you play this game, where there's going to be some good values to look out for this weekend. Movies and actors you're going to want to have on your call sheets that you must have. So first off, this is the part of the shot list I call the A list, and these are definitely some actors you will want on your call sheet. First up, and is James McAvoy, and having seen Atomic Blonde, I'm intrigued. Now, in my notes, I say that this might be the sleeper hit to lead the box office weekend. It's projected at 28.5 million. I thought 40 million is not out of its reach. It'll be very interesting to see how people respond to this, because I think it is a fun movie. It's a good movie, but it's not great. If it was a great movie, I thought 40 million would be in reach. It's pretty good, and a lot of curiosity, behind the trailer and the action behind the trailer. So I think it's going to come in around 28, 29, maybe 30 million. So it's still some decent value here at 14,700 for James McAvoy. It's not even a fifth of your budget. So go for James McAvoy as a headliner in Atomic Blonde. And Cillian Murphy from Dunkirk. I'm trying to tell y'all, I mean, word's gotten out. I think he got an A+ cinema score or something, A- cinema score. It's like that, and people are talking about it. It's in the zeitgeist. Made 50 million last weekend. It's bound to make probably another. I wouldn't be surprised if it only dropped 40%, 40, 45%. If it has a strong 55 to 60% hold, expected to come in around the mid to high 20s. So 14,400 might be a steal for Cillian Murphy, the cheaper priced of your 2 headliners from Dunkirk. Okay, so co-starring, these are some values you want to look out for this weekend. Take it back to Girls Trip. I try to tell y'all, Girls Trip was like that. 31.2 million its opening weekend. It's excellent. I bumped up their price just a smidge. I think it bumped up about $1,000 for each actor, based off the popularity and also based off the competition this weekend in the box office. At 11,000, Regina Hall is the cheaper of the two headliners. There's still some value here if it even holds 50% of its opening weekend. That would probably clock in around 15 to 17 million. I mean, the word of mouth is just ridiculous. It's not out of the realm of possibility. It could even do 20 million. You might want to hedge your bets with some extra with another trip to Girls Trip this weekend. Where else? Oh, Chris Pine from Wonder Woman. Yes, that old warhorse. Wonder Woman is still chugging along. Look at it. Scroll all the way down here. It is in its 8th week of release. It's 9th weekend of release. It is still making money. It is a limited release now. And Sandy, you get 1 point per every 500,000 in box office per actor in limited release. So on 1,500 screens, it's going to be one of the higher limited releases. It made what 4.6 million last weekend, so it was good for like 9.22 points or 12.91 points for a headliner. So it gets you some Chris Pine in a lackluster weekend for limited release. Just go with what you know. He's only 8,000, nice and affordable. And if you have to get just one limited release actor this week, I would highly advise for Chris Pine. And sadly, the part of our shot list is the cutting room floor. Skip these losers. Don't mess with these movies because they are past their prime. Cars 3. Yeah, sorry. It's a movie without a country right now if it stays in limited release. It's just too wide for its own good. It probably should be in platform. If it goes on the platform, it might have a shot. But right now I'm guesstimating it's going to be on 700 screens, which is 200 screens too much for a platform. So if it stays in limited, definitely avoid Owen Wilson, Larry the Cable Guy et al. In Cars 3. And then The Black Prince. This one really pissed me off. What happened to The Black Prince? It didn't even chart. Did it even open last weekend? Nobody knows. So since we had no box, yeah, did you hear about The Black Prince?
Nope.
Yeah, exactly. No one's heard of it. I mean, I don't even know if it even screened, but we didn't get any box office data for it at the time we ended the game. So we had to go with the goose egg or the min score. So everyone who had The Black Prince, like myself, only had 1 point per actor or 1.40 for the headliners. So skip this movie. It's too unknown. It definitely will not be in next weekend's talent pool because there's too many unknowns about this movie. Really annoying. Don't risk getting a minimum score. So this weekend, besides Dunkirk, Sandy, any movies you're going to go see?
Tomorrow, I'm going to go for the senior discount and see Baby Driver.
Oh, yeah. That's a fun one. You'll enjoy that. If you like car chase and stuff, you'll enjoy that movie.
Yeah.
Good. Excellent. All right. So, and that's the wrong page. There we go. So we do an over-under around here. Sandy basically try to guess, the over-under of how movies are going to do at the box office. This weekend, our over-under is going to be Atomic Blonde, and we're pegging the over-under at 30 million. What do you think, Sandy? Is going to go over or under 30 million this weekend?
I would say under.
Okay, all right. And you know what? Not
because Girl Trip did what, 20 million?
Yes. No, 31 million last weekend.
Oh, 31 million?
Yes.
I'll say under for Atomic Blonde.
Interesting. So why the correlation with Girls Trip? Those because one's like a really like hard R comedy and one's like a really hard R action movie.
Because the buildup for Girls Trip seemed like that's all I was seeing on Facebook.
Yeah, you got good friends. You got
Roland Martin is saying go see the movie. So and it almost became cultish. People were having Girl Trip parties or something. Where they would go in mass. So I haven't had that feeling about Atomic Blonde.
Interesting. Now I didn't have a Girls Trip party. I went by myself after theater lock on Thursday. But did you see Girls Trip last weekend? Have you seen it yet?
No, I haven't.
You should. I mean, well, I don't know. Some movies aren't for everybody, but if you like a good, R-rated comedy, it is right up in there. And it felt like a bit of like a reunion for me. I mean, people
I want to go see it because I saw the clip of The one lady that's in it.
Oh, Tiffany
Jimmy
Haddish.
Kimmel.
Yes. Yeah, the one where she's on Jimmy Kimmel. Was it Jimmy
Yeah,
Kimmel? Yeah.
and she was hilarious.
Yeah.
And then she said she was from South Central LA, that's where I grew up. So
Oh, okay.
I said I'll go see her.
No, she steals the show by far. Like all the stuff we're seeing in the trailers, like you can't get no affection in your booty hole. It's booty hole. She's like that the entire movie, and it is hysterical, just hysterical. So yeah, I do recommend it. Our results from last week's poll: 67% picked over 50 million for Dunkirk, including myself, and for a change, I was right. Yes, it made 50.15 million, so we barely got the over right. And it's poised to have another strong weekend, probably another 27-28 million dollar weekend for Dunkirk. I know it's probably gonna get my money when I go see it in 70 millimeter. All right, and so that pretty much is a wrap, Sandy.
Okay.
Our landing. Where can you find Cinema Draft? Go to cinemadraft.co to sign up for the free beta. We're in all the social media, including medium.com/@cinemadraft. That is our corporate blog. And please subscribe to the podcast at iTunes, Google Music, SoundCloud, or wherever you get your podcast from. Also, we are live this week. Games run at 10 p.m. Pacific time on Thursday. Theater lock, when we lock in for the weekend, the release types in the theater counts, that happens at 6 p.m. Pacific time on Thursday. It is free to play. Feature presentation, $125 prize pool, $46 the first, totally free to play. And don't forget that $25 call sheet of the week bonus. Game ends 4 p.m. on Mondays, and fingers crossed, no hand scoring. Hopefully, if there is, the results will be done a few hours after that. Sandy, it's been a pleasure. Let's get to the soundboard. Give yourself a hand.
I enjoyed it.
Thanks for coming on. And anything you want to plug, Mr. Connoisseur of Leisure?
Nope.
You know what? And you've earned the right, damn it. Nothing to plug because you are living the life. You are living the dream.
I'm going to Bali in February, so I'll plug that.
All right, so y'all plan to go to Bali in February. Holla at your boy Sandy Ward, Connoisseur of Leisure. And yeah, I think, and you're still out here in Vegas, right? Vegas resident. Yeah, still outstanding. Here. That's how you retire, folks. That's how you shut it down. Go to Vegas, go to Bali, hang out, watch cool movies, jump on a podcast every now and then, raise good kids. All right, excellent. Well, thanks a lot, Sandy. That's our show for this week. And everybody, between now and the next podcast, y'all know what to do. Go see a movie or something.